What's up everyone, it's JusticeSoulTuna and welcome to another Voice of the World, once again on the topic of fighting games. And this is a particularly interesting one because it has to do with the good old, stigmatism, axiom, hell, even urban legend that we like to call balance. Now, balance is a term that comes up a lot, if not all the time, in any game that's considered competitive, any game that basically involves somebody winning and somebody losing. Now, there's many arguments for and against whether or not a game can be balanced, whether or not balance exists, whether or not, a game is indeed balanced, or whether or not it's imbalanced. And even though I personally think balance is a very funny word, simply because for something to be truly balanced, it has to be equal. And when something's equal, that means that both sides are the exact same thing. And no matter how many times people try to argue that a fighting game or a competitive game can be quote-unquote balanced, as long as there is a difference between two factors, there is no balance. If both the factors are equal, different but equal, then yes, that's balance. However, when two factors are widely different, such as the case of two very different fighting game characters, then the term balance is a strange one. And also, one man's trash is another man's treasure. If a game is indeed balanced and has balanced characters, sometimes it's down to the opinion and discretion of the player, the user, who would then say, no, I don't find this balanced, I don't believe this character is as good as this character. The argument goes on, and indeed, this isn't too much about that, but instead of a comment about balance that I saw, there was quite a good one, and it explains, I think, my opinion on balance. And he says, options, safety, damage, health, and mobility all play an equal role in defining a tier list. You try to balance all 5 of these aspects perfectly across a 30+ character list, and you realize it's impossible. I mean, 30 characters, you'd say, is maybe a standard for a fighting game, but most fighting games have 20, some have less, maybe 15. I remember the original BlazBlue Calamity Trigger had 12 characters. Games like Skullgirls have 8, and a game like Tekken Tag Tournament 2 has over 50, which is just mind-blowing. Now, even in a game like Skullgirls, even in a game with only 8 characters, was that game considered balanced? They tried to make it balanced, of course, and I mean, I give hats off to Reverge Labs for trying their hardest to really make a balanced, enjoyable experience by input from tournament players and, of course, Mike Z, the developer. So all of these things were taken into consideration. But in theory, these things can be considered balanced. But when in the hands of players, so many things are going to happen. Think of the competitive shooters or competitive RTSs that you may know, like Halo, Call of Duty, StarCraft, League of Legends. These kind of games, in theory, are made to be balanced. But in the hands of players who have the time, the aptitude, and the ingenuity to discover a game's inner workings, will discover what's good and what isn't good, what's better, what's worse. So the notion of balance just goes out the window. When people find the differences between something and something is just better than another thing, that's when there is there's no more balance. Because I personally think that balance could only be possible when two things are equal, actually equal. However, here's the problem. If something is balanced, is it really fun? Do we play competitive games so that we can just play two things that are the same and just see who comes out on top? Because not everybody likes using the same thing. Would a fighting game be fun if it only had one character and everybody picks that one character and just pretty much, goes crazy on each other by using the same character? I don't know if you can really call that fun. Of course, you do see, 1v1 matches with character mirrors in fighting games, but that's only on the basis of luck that both persons use that character, or both persons are using that character, at that point in time, being the casuals in the tournament. But there are other characters in the game. Now, see, even a game like Dive Kick, which is a UFGT 8, Ultimate Fighting Game Tournament 8, I thought that was an interesting one, because I literally thought that both the characters that were initially announced, Dive and Kick, were simply going to be the same character, just different colors and all that. But it was then found out that not only had Dive Kick added new characters such as Mr. N, Kung Pao, and I think Wolverine, it made even the characters dive and kick so interestingly different that dive had better dive abilities, i.e. jumping higher, kick had faster kicks. And this difference in ability suddenly makes a competitive game more exciting, because now it's about pitting skills against one another. It isn't about a balanced fight, i.e. both characters are equally strong. Well, I mean, they are both strong, but whether they're equally strong, now that is indeed the question. I mean, even though Dive Kick was a joke game, there ended up being tier lists in it, and it's a funny thing because it makes you think, how can a game like this have tier lists? Simple. Even though I personally don't believe tier lists are the be-all and end-all description of a game's objective ranking, I do think a tier list is a good idea of knowing which character is, well, quote-unquote, better than another, which character can handle well, which character is, quote-unquote, stronger. This is always down to opinion, and sometimes tier lists can be different completely for different people. However, in regards to a game like Dive Kick, tier lists can be made simply because there is that difference between characters. And the difference between characters means that one will be better. One will be worse, one will be better. That's just the truth. One will come on top, one won't do just as well. And this is the part where I basically say, do I actually care about balance? No, I don't. Never have. I personally believe in things being good and things being bad, because it's not just a thing in games, it's a fact of life. Some things are better than others. Why else would you buy, let's just say in terms of computers, why would you buy a computer with better RAM as compared to a computer with other RAM? Not all computers have the same RAM. You want better RAM because you want something better. You want something that's better than something else. And you may say, but that's not competition, but you may be surprised. And even if it isn't competition, that is just a fact of life. Some things are better than others. Some people are smarter, some people are faster, taller, more wise. Some things are just better than others. Some weapons in some games are better than other weapons. Some characters in games are better than other characters, and that is just a fact of a game. And in a competitive game, some people believe in balance, and that's perfectly fine. Some people believe in having a balanced and quote-unquote fair fight. This isn't my personal belief. I believe in making sure every character is strong, well-equipped, and perfectly capable of holding their own in a fight. But whether or not a game can be perfectly balanced, I don't personally see that coming. I would find it hard as a developer to balance a game without having to sacrifice the individuality of a character by making a character unique. I would find it hard to give a character specific tools and options and still somehow make that balanced compared to another character. I would find it hard making guns in a shooter that all work completely differently and appeal to different types of players and yet are still balanced. So no, I don't believe in the notion of balance. However, I do believe in excitement and the challenge that comes from a competitive game, picking what you prefer and discovering ways to overcome your opponents, either through the character you use or the tactics you use, whether they be a good character, a bad character, a good tool, a bad tool, whatever it may be. So no, I don't think there is balance, but I do think there is great competition. So yeah, this is JusticeSoulTuna. See you later.